hadn't heard my mother's voice in 4 years, not since the day she handed me a manila envelope and said without looking up from her pearls, "You'll understand one day. It's what's best for the estate." Inside was a formal notice I'd been removed from her will. So when she called on a Tuesday afternoon in mid-June, my first instinct was to let it ring. I almost did, but curiosity has a cruel way of surviving estrangement. "Meredith," she said too softly. "It's Mom." I didn't answer right away. Her voice used to carry the weight of verdicts. Now it felt thin. "I've been thinking," she continued, "about us, about how we left things. I miss you." The word miss did something strange inside my chest. I didn't trust it, but I let her speak. "I was hoping you'd come over, just for coffee. No lawyers, no money talk, just you and me." It was the just that told me everything wasn't just coffee. Still, I said yes. I drove the familiar route to her estate in River Oaks, Houston. My hands stayed tight on the wheel the entire 45 minutes. The gates recognized my plate, but not without hesitation the pause before they creaked open longer than I remembered. It was Evan who answered the door. "Meredith," he said, his voice syrupy smooth like it was trying to make me forget he was nearly 20 years younger than my mother. Evan Cole, 37, gym-built and always in tailored shirts. The man who married my 75-year-old mother 18 months after my father's stroke. He was wearing navy today and a Rolex that hadn't belonged to him 2 years ago. "Come in," he said, motioning with the kind of charm that had probably won over more than one aging heiress. The house looked the same. Cold floors, warm lighting, walls that absorbed rather than echoed. But something about the air was different, less like home, more like staging. My mother sat in the solarium where she used to read me Nancy Drew mysteries when I was 9. Her silver hair was pinned high, her lipstick exact. In front of her 2 porcelain cups. Steam curled upward from both. "Meredith," she smiled. "You look well." I sat down slowly. The chair cushions were firmer than I remembered. "I made your favorite blend," she said, nudging 1 cup forward. The scent was cinnamon, but something else floated under it. Almond sharp and wrong. I touched the handle. Didn't lift. "You didn't have to," I said. "I wanted to," she replied. Her smile was thin as china, and I wondered if you disinherit someone and call them back years later. "Is coffee really all you're offering?" I didn't drink the coffee. I held it long enough for the cup to warm my palms, then set it back down when Jackie looked away to adjust a cushion behind her lower back. Her movements were careful too. Careful for someone who used to stride through this house like she owned the air. She reached for her cup without hesitation. Evan stood nearby, watching us from the edge of the doorway like a well-dressed shadow. He hadn't touched either cup. I noticed that. My mother sipped. She didn't even flinch. "You're still not wearing makeup?" she said, setting the cup down lightly. "I suppose that's your choice." I let the comment float. I'd been out of her approval for decades. It didn't sting anymore. But then something shifted. She blinked. Once. Twice. Her hand moved toward her throat fingers, pressing just under the collarbone. "Mom," I said, voice steady. She didn't answer. She reached for the table's edge. Missed. Her eyes darted sideways like a bird caught in glass. Then the coughing began. At first it was small, a clearing of the throat. Then violent. Her body curled inward, shoulders shaking as she gasped for air. Jackie Evans' voice cracked into the air. He rushed over, catching her just as she slumped to the side. I stood up, instinct taking over, but I didn't step closer. My mother's lips were turning a color I hadn't seen since law school case files, bluish gray. Evan grabbed his phone, fingers flying. "She's not breathing right. I need an ambulance." River Oaks Drive, number 117. "Hurry, she's not okay." I stayed frozen. Not because I was in shock, because I was watching a performance. His panic was too loud, too exact. It didn't match the terror on her face or mine. The paramedics came quickly. River Oaks money bought fast response times. They stabilized her. Oxygen. IV. She moaned once before they wheeled her out. Evan turned to me, hands still shaking. "What?" What the hell just happened? I said nothing, just followed the gurney with my eyes. At the hospital, I waited in a beige chair under fluorescent lights that made time stall. A nurse came out. She's stable. We're running toxicology. There were irregularities. Irregularities. Later that night, an officer stepped into the waiting area. His badge read Garza. He carried a clipboard and a look I'd worn myself once when the pieces were falling into place faster than the mind could process. "Ma'am," he said, "your mother's awake. She's asked to speak. And she says you poisoned her." For a second, the word didn't register. Then it did. And in the hollow pause between syllables, I remembered exactly whose cup I'd taken. They didn't handcuff me. Detective Garza said it was a courtesy, but the silence in the back of that cruiser felt just as binding. I didn't speak during the drive. Neither did he. The interrogation room smelled faintly of ammonia and old coffee, the kind of place where stories were either shredded or sharpened. "Your mother claims you brought the poison," he said, sliding a folder across the table. "That you slipped it into the cup while she was distracted." I didn't answer. He opened the folder. Inside were photos, my hand holding the mug, Jackie coughing, a blurry shot of Evan's panicked face. "Cyanide," he said. "Toxicology confirms it." He flipped one more page. "We also found this in your apartment. It was a small plastic vial, half full, labeled in black Sharpie almond extract. Only it wasn't." My jaw tightened. "I don't keep that. Someone planted it." He nodded like that was possible, but not probable. "There's more," he added. He pulled out a sheet of paper. My name printed in cursive at the top. Underneath, rows of notes, body weight calculations, dosages, absorption rates. At the bottom, 2 words, fastest path liquid. "It's your handwriting," he said. I looked closer. It was close. Uncannily close. But wrong. The slant on the R's was just off. The spacing too exact. I'd once written affidavits half asleep under courtroom fluorescence. I knew my own hand like my pulse. "That's not mine," I said. Garza leaned back. "We're not pressing charges yet. But the evidence is concerning." I walked out on conditional release 3 hours later. My phone had 17 missed calls. Only one mattered. Meredith, a familiar voice, asked, "You okay?" It was Harper Lewis, my former co-counsel from back when I still believed justice was about truth. "I'm not sure," I said. I met her at her office the next morning. She was sharper than ever, blazer flat's eyes like court steel. "They're setting you up," she said after reading the report. "But whoever's doing it knows the law, and knows you." We made a list. Means whoever planted the vial had access to my apartment. The door lock was old, and I'd never changed it after moving in 5 years ago. Motive Jackie had rewritten her will last quarter. That much was public record. Meredith Cole, 0 inheritance. Evan Cole, primary beneficiary. Opportunity coffee cups. Controlled environment. Evan never drank. "It's textbook misdirection," Harper said. "They want you to look like the bitter, disinherited daughter out for revenge." I almost laughed. It was too convenient. But what gutted me more wasn't the setup. It was the fact that my mother, whether coerced or complicit, had looked into a camera into my face and said she did this to me. "She wants me gone," I whispered. "Or someone wants her to want that," Harper replied. "Either way, it's time we stop reacting and start digging." I nodded. The weight of that forged note still sat in my chest. The words weren't mine, but the shadow they cast that felt terrifyingly real. Harper worked fast. She always had. Within 48 hours, she'd pulled public filings, cross-checked marriage records, and gotten a quiet favor from a probate clerk she once mentored. "Your mother amended her will 3 months ago," she said, sliding the document across her desk. "Removed you entirely. Everything goes to Evan Cole." I stared at the line. "To my beloved husband, Evan, I leave the entirety of my estate liquid and real." I ran my thumb over my own name, or rather the space where it used to be. "She didn't even leave me her jewelry," I murmured. "Not a cent," Harper confirmed. "And get this, Evan's been moving money." We traced 4 separate wire transfers to an offshore account in the Caymans, totaling nearly $820,000. She tapped her pen. Your mom's money. I sat back, pulse ticking louder. And the insurance policies, 2, Harper said. Both under Jackie's name. Both signed after they got married. Evan's the sole beneficiary. She leaned forward. Meredith, this isn't about a grudge. It's about removing the only person who might contest the will. The thought settled like ash in my throat. He's done this before, I said quietly. What makes you say that I don't know? Just a feeling. That night I couldn't sleep, so I followed the feeling. A few hours on legal databases, public death notices, probate delays. I cross-referenced every woman Evan Cole had been connected to over the past 15 years. 2 names surfaced. Angela Rowe died of cardiac arrest at 68. No autopsy performed. Evan listed as companion. Linda Markle died of an accidental fall. Autopsy inconclusive. Evan had power of attorney. Both had estates. Both had sudden changes to their wills in the year prior to death. I printed the files and stared at them until the toner blurred. The pattern wasn't just there, it was practiced. When I was 11, my mother ripped a sketchbook in half. I had drawn a girl in a courthouse scales in one hand, fire in the other. I told her I wanted to be a prosecutor. She smiled without teeth and said, "That's adorable, but no man will marry a woman who argues for a living." She didn't raise her voice. She never needed to. By 14, I stopped showing her what I loved. Piano, moot court, even prom. She praised silence more than success. Her compliments were like rationed air offered only when I mirrored her. After Dad's stroke, it got worse. I offered to move home, take care of her. She refused. We're not some working-class tragedy, Meredith. I'll manage. What she meant was, you are not welcome. The last time we spoke before the will, before Evan, she called me ungrateful for declining to sign a joint trust. Family is obligation, she said, even if it's inconvenient. I remember staring at the veins in her hand, so thin and blue under the skin, wondering how something that fragile could press down so hard. She didn't disown me with anger. She disowned me with poise. And now, lying awake with Evan's pattern of victims in a folder beside me, I understood. She had always admired men who made decisive moves. She taught me to value polish over protest. So why was I surprised she chose him over me? Harper made the first call to a federal contact she trusted. It didn't take long. They've had whispers about Evan, she told me, but nothing stuck. No witnesses. No clear motive until now. Within a day, the FBI agreed to quietly assist. Not arrest, not yet. Just observe. We set the trap in 3 parts. First, Harper leaked a whisper to a former colleague who now wrote legal columns. A single sentence buried in a write-up about estate disputes. Sources say new forensic evidence may reopen the Cole investigation. Then we let it breathe. Within hours, Evan called my phone. I let it go to voicemail. His tone was measured too measured. Meredith, this is all a misunderstanding. I think we should talk. I know you're hurting. Let's not drag this further. I didn't reply. The next day, Harper placed a fake package at my apartment doorstep, an unmarked envelope bulging with photo slips of handwriting analysis mock bank statements. All fakes, but realistic enough. The final step, I let it be seen. The neighbor across the hall, whom I barely knew, just happened to walk by while I opened the door. Just happened to peek inside. An hour later, Evan's car was parked across from my building. Not close, but there. We've got movement, Harper texted. The FBI wired my place for sound, left the door unlocked. We waited. 2 nights later at 2:12 a.m., my front doorknob turned. He came in quietly. Not like a thief. Like someone who believed he belonged. He wore gloves, carried a penlight, went straight to the drawer where the envelope had been, and behind him, half a step late, breathing uneven, was Jackie. Her eyes scanned the room like she didn't trust the dark. She moved slower, stiffer, but she was there. Watching her step into my apartment didn't feel like betrayal. It felt like confirmation, that whatever this was, whatever she had become, it was chosen. The agents didn't wait long, Lights flared. Commands were shouted. Evan froze. Jackie cried out once something between a name and a warning. They were both cuffed before either could touch the envelope. In the stillness afterward, Harper stepped in. She looked at me, not triumphant, not relieved. Just steady. "You were right," she said. I nodded once, but I didn't feel right. I felt hollow. Because part of me had hoped still even then that my mother would stop just short of the edge. They separated them, of course. Evan in a holding cell downtown. Jackie in a hospital bed under guard claiming dizziness and chest pain. But by morning she asked to speak, only to me. They arranged it in a small windowless room at Memorial Hermann. 2 chairs, 1 camera. No cuffs but 2 officers behind the glass. I walked in first. She was smaller than I remembered, not frail compressed. Her hair undone skin pale beneath the foundation she hadn't fully wiped away. The scent of gardenia clung to her sweater. "Meredith," she said as if my name were still hers to say. I sat, didn't speak. "I didn't know," she said quietly. "Not at first." I raised one eyebrow. She folded her hands. The nails were still perfect. "Evan," he showed me things, notes, statements, things that made it look like you were planning something. I thought maybe you were angry. About the will. I stared at her expressionless. "I thought if I went along with him I could protect you," she added. "Watch him, keep him close." I let the silence stretch, let her feel it. "Is that what you told the police I asked?" She flinched. "Just slightly." "No." I panicked. "When they asked what happened, I thought it was your cup. I wasn't sure. I said your name. You said I poisoned you." Her lips pressed thin. I made a mistake. The word hung there brittle. "What did he promise you?" I asked. "To keep me out, to write me off." She didn't answer. Outside the glass, one of the officers adjusted his stance. Inside, my mother looked down at her lap. "I didn't think he'd hurt me," she whispered. "He didn't," I said. "You drank the wrong cup. That wasn't part of the plan." Her mouth opened, then shut. A single tear escaped, tracing the line where blush once was. I wanted to feel something then. Fury, satisfaction, pity. But all I felt was distance. "You know I said slowly when I was 10, you told Mrs. Redding I was a stubborn child who thinks rules are optional." She blinked, startled. "I remember," I said, "because you smiled when you said it." She looked up at me now. Eyes red, voice shaking. "What do you want from me?" I stood. "I used to want an apology," I said. "Or maybe a reason." I picked up my coat from the back of the chair. But now, she waited. Breath caught. "I just want to never come back here." Then I walked out. She didn't follow. The charges against me were dropped within the week. The headlines shifted from heiress daughter accused to husband faces attempted murder plot. Evan's past came spilling out like oil from a cracked drum. Florida, Arizona. 2 other women. Patterns. Jackie didn't speak publicly. She retained a lawyer and pled diminished capacity. Her health had begun to decline. Or maybe it just showed. The estate froze in probate. I didn't contest the will. Harper asked why twice. I gave her the same answer both times. I don't want what she protected from me. Instead, I packed up my apartment, boxed my books, my files, the coffee mug I never drank from. I left the envelope, the real one, on Harper's desk. "You'll know if I need it," I said. Then I drove west toward the edge of Texas where the land flattens and the silence doesn't echo. I rented a place near El Paso. No garden, no history. Some nights I sit on the back steps with a glass of water and count the planes blinking across the sky. Not dreaming, just listening. Because after a life full of accusations, expectations, instructions whispered like law, silence feels like permission. She never hit me, never screamed, never called me names. She just chose other people again and again until I stopped asking why. If that sounds familiar, you're not alone. There are wounds that don't show in courtrooms or police reports. They show in the moment you pause before dialing their number. They show when your voice shakes not from fear, but from history. Some of us didn't run away. We were told to stay quiet, to be good, to not embarrass the family. And we did until silence became survival. If you've ever had to walk away not because you wanted to, but because staying would have made you disappear, just leave a mark, a word, a pause, a memory, even a dot. We'll know what it means. We're still listening.